Record.
Sairam. Sairam, in this video chapter, we are going to see how to create a grid form. In the last chapter, we have seen how to create an add form using drop down. Following that, for the same subject, that is Balvika Center, we are going to create the grid, okay, grid form. That's the purpose of this chapter. So I'm just now in the prompt, grid form prompt. So it is very simple. We need to open the form, the prompt, and the JSON would be the API to fill the grid. Okay, that's what we are going to call the API. So here the API is there. So I took this API from the tag file. So in the tag file, Balvika Center grid is there. I just copy this one. And let me put it in the test, API test. Once you put the API test, you get the response something like this. Okay. That's what the response you'll get. That response, I'll copy it here. So with that, the JSON 1 is ready. JSON 1 with the response 1 is ready. So what really happens is this JSON 1 is called during the loading form. So automatically the grid will be filled with the data of the Balvika Center. With that, the form will be ready. Okay. Now here the JSON 2.0 is also API is also required. The required purpose is to delete a particular row. Here the particular row would belong to a Balvika Center. So if it doesn't need or you wrongly entered a Balvika Center, it need to be deleted. Correct. So for that sake, you need a deletion option also. So ultimately, there are two APIs required. One API to fill the grid. The next API to delete a particular row of the grid. Okay. So there would be two requirement. So based on those two requirements, the two APIs is specified. Then followed by the instruction what are to be done. Okay. So create a form with grid as follows. Columns are to be taken from respond 1.0. So the respond 1.0 is nothing but you call the API, you fetch the data from the database with respect to the subject. The subject here is Balvika Center. Okay. And all IDs are kept as hidden. So what do you mean by ID? So here let me check with what are the IDs available here. Okay. Samiti is an ID and group ID is ID. Active type ID is ID, like place ID is ID. Any of the place name and the corresponding names will be visible in the grid. Okay. Only the IDs. See, ID is a referential. It is a referential data. Okay. So that need not showcase in the grid. That will confuse the user. So to avoid that one, but of course we know we need those information. So that can be kept as a hidden. That's what the instruction. So all IDs are kept as hidden and API URL JSON respond 1.0 to be called during the page load. That's what we decided. Okay. Respond 1.0 to be filled in the grid. Okay. Each row should have two buttons. One is edit, the other one is delete. Okay. So these two buttons are the need to be created for each row. Okay. Right. That's what it's specified here. And the EBV is Balvika Center edit.php. Okay. Here the edit page yet not been created. Of course, that is going to be our next chapter. But still, that we are specifying here so that we will not re-edit this particular form again. That's a reason we are giving the information. Okay. All right. And so here you need to understand basic things. During the Balvika's edit, Balvika Center edit, you will understand more, but still I will say, you are calling a page. Okay, this is a page. EBVC Balvika Center edit.php, where I'm passing a parameter. So this part is called a parameter. In generally, any form, like let it be HTML or PHP form, we can pass parameter. So I'm passing a parameter ID equal to row center ID. So row center ID information has to be passed to this particular edit button. Okay, so the row, where is the row center ID? What is the row center ID? The center ID is the column information that has been fetched from the database by the API 1.0. The center ID is here. Okay, this information is kept as a hidden in the grid because which we have already decided. Okay, so all hidden are kept as an hidden. Okay, so the row center ID is already there in the grid. We are just utilizing that to call a specific Balvika center and open it. Okay, that's the purpose behind this particular row. So you need not confuse too much on this. This part is going to be more or less common for all edit. Okay, this will be common for more or less common for all edit. Anyway, for edit, we are going to work on that in the chapter 2 that we are going to see. Here we are making it very simple. The form is specified, followed by a question mark, and ID is again a common equal to the row dot whichever the column. Here the primary column is center ID. So generally the primary ID should be sent. If it is going to be a grid for the student, then student ID is the primary ID. So the student ID, row dot student ID should be passed. That's it. Nothing special about it. Okay. Then 5A, because the same line handles both the edit and delete. So 5A, a delete button should call the API URL JSON respond 2.0. Okay. New Balvika Center button above the grid on click EBVC Balvika Center add.php, which we have recently created in the previous chapter to be open. And back button on click, it has to go back to the index.php. Okay, fine. So this is a requirement which we have clearly specified in the prompt. Now you call this prompt, paste this in the ChatGPT, generate the part 1, part 2, part 3. Here, like ChatGPT can take more parts here. I'll explain you that also now. I'll show you that also now, so that that you will understand. Record. So when we paste the information in the ChatGPT, you'll be getting a response like this. Yes, I can create that page. It has given some basic information and explains about what is the requirement. Okay. Now we are currently working on the grid. Okay. So it has given like the best way to provide is it is in 4 parts. Part 1, the HTML panel 1 plus button plus grid. All information are in the part 1. Part 2, see part 1 is basically HTML part which you need to copy under the panel 1. And the part 2 is the JavaScript which has to be copied under the JavaScript. And the delete API and edit all, this is part 3 is also the part of the JavaScript only. And part 4 also the part of the JavaScript. So HTML alone need to copy under the panel 1. The remaining thing, see the JavaScript is being a little larger one. It has divided that into part 2, part 3 and part 4. So all things you have to copy one after the other. Nothing special. Okay. So I'll start with get me part 1. So once I got the part 1, I'll copy this in the panel 1. Then part 2, I just copy this and paste under the JavaScript. And below that, I'll copy part 2 and part 3, whatever. Okay, that's it. So now I'll say get me part 3. Then part 3, I'll copy it. That's it. Okay, similarly. So there is no separate part 4 required. That's okay. So up to part 3, it is there. So we have copied that one. Okay, right, done. That is, then finally I'll put get me CSS. So I copy the CSS also so that the total PHP is ready. You can copy that to the server or send to me. I'll do the rest so that we can do the testing. Okay, fine. That's about the grid. It's a very simple. So the grid looks like this. Okay. So the new Bal Vikas Center button, which was set in the top of the grid, it is here. Back button is here. Okay. Then the edit is here and delete. If I click on the edit, it goes to the edit. Okay. Edit I already created. I'm going to put the video in the next chapter that you can see. Okay. Back. Then the new Bal Vikas Center, if I click, it goes to the add form. That's about, and if I click on the delete, the particular row will be deleted. That's it. Okay, with that, the grid part is ready. Now we can go ahead with the next chapter where edit form will be explained. Okay, fine.